Good evening, everybody. Happy Wednesday. I'm your host, Shameika Rhymes, and welcome to Souliration. Let me know in the chat where you are watching from and how you're doing this evening. Let me know how your week's going so far. And remember to share this with your network. And if you have any questions at all, you guys know that you're the co-host, so drop those questions in the chat. I know the chat's going to be fire tonight because we are talking about dating. Woo, chow. So tonight on Celebration, we're asking the question, are we even dating right? Did anybody ever teach you guys how to date? So most of us weren't really taught how to date if you think about it. Yet everywhere we turn, somebody's coming up with rules, opinions, and endless advice on social media. I feel like every time I think I've mastered one thing, somebody comes up with like no X amount of money on dates or no this, no that. So we're going to talk about all that. And so no wonder that dating feels confusing, frustrating, and discouraging at all times. So tonight we're going to be breaking that down, what dating looks like today, how to date with intention, what role attachment styles play. Let me know in the chat what your attachment style is. And we're going to talk about whether or not having a certain type helps or hurts us and which rules are worth following versus which ones we should just throw out the window. So if you've ever wondered if you're doing the dating thing right, you want to stay tuned for this conversation. So let me introduce you to, I can't talk. Let me introduce you to tonight's guest. I got excited. Monique Kelly. She is a TV host, national dating expert, novelist, former studio executive, and motivational women's empowerment speaker. She's hosted Lifetime's Married at First Sight specials, Cast Tell All, and Decision Day Dish. She's the author of the novel Reality and Chaos, and she also offers dating coaching services through her company, Cocktails and Confessions Coaching. So she's going to talk a little bit about that if you want to sign up later. So she's also known for her authentic and lighthearted take on love and relationships that I can't wait to hear her perspective on what dating looks like tonight. Let's bring her on.
Hey.
Hi, Monique.
Hi, how are you?
Great. Welcome to Celebration.
I'm excited to be here. I've been looking forward to this conversation.
Me too. I already see people checking in the chat. Asheville, Gastonia, Charlotte. Welcome. You guys make sure you drop your questions in the chat. So we got to start this off first because I think this is where part of the confusion is.
Okay.
What does it actually mean to date?
So dating, the best way to describe it is called collecting data. You date to collect data. You have to listen to what the person is saying, what they're actually saying, not listen and interpret. And you also have to go by people's actions when you're collecting that data as well.
Okay, so why do so many of us feel like we don't know how to date?
You know what it is? I think it's the expectations that we put on ourselves, that we put in the outcome of the date. And instead of enjoying dating like we used to back in the day, we are so focused on the end result that we don't appreciate the present moment. Also, oftentimes, especially with social media, there's so much on social media. There's so many sound bites of what sounds good. But I think we often look for red flags so much. We're waiting for the other shoe to drop. And again, we're not enjoying the foundation of dating.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting you bring that up because I was thinking about this like way back when I was a teenager and then college, dating didn't seem this difficult.
No.
It was fun.
Those
Now,
are good old days. No baggage, none of the foolishness. And if you are close to my age, no social media. Like those were the good days when it was just pure. I miss those days too. We all do.
yeah. So, do you think that with age and social media, that is what changed it? Because most of us are like that haven't been married or thinking like, oh, he might be the one because I'm trying to hurry up and beat this clock.
Yes. Absolutely. Again, it goes back to those expectations. And as you get older, you have dating history, you have this disappointments, the anxiety, the past relationships where you are still beating yourself up on not leaving soon or dating that person where you're not trusting yourself. Then you go to the other age group, the late 20s, early 30s, mid 30s. For women who've never been married before, you're like, oh my goodness, I need to get married. The biological clock is ticking. All of my friends are getting married. So again, you're putting so much pressure on yourself. You're forgetting to enjoy the process.
Whew, that's a lot. That's a lot.
I
So,
know.
so how would we know if we truly know how to date or forgot? Because like we were saying, back then it was easy, it was fun, we didn't have all this baggage. How was were our parents supposed to teach us how to date? How are we supposed to learn exactly how to date, especially, as some of us enter, I'm trying to think, middle age? Ooh.
Yeah, yeah, that's okay. It's okay. The more seasoned crew.
Season, yes.
So I think, especially for the more seasoned crew, a lot of people's their parents did not teach you how to date. They taught you how to make sure you didn't get pregnant. They taught you how to make sure you weren't being fast. They taught you all of that. But in terms of like the foundation of dating, for a lot of more seasoned folks, you didn't learn that. So oftentimes now you go into dating and you have these narratives in your mind, right? And then it also goes back to, as you've dated through your 20s, your 30s, or your 40s, or for some people who are in their 50s, the baggage that comes along with that. So we are so worried about making the same mistake again. We're also, our dating narrative is awful. Like we were talking about how there's men ain't this, women ain't this. What do you bring to the table? A high value man. Like there's so much chatter that is
Yeah.
going on with dating that it is overwhelming. Not to mention, in addition to social media, text messaging, like all these different rules of how we're supposed to do things, where it just can be confusing and frustrating. So we got to
Mhm.
get to the bare basics when it comes to dating.
Okay. So let's start there. What are
Okay.
those bare basics? Like, talk to me like I've never been on a date. And when honestly, I haven't in years, but
Okay. That's okay. That's
not while I've
okay.
been seasoned. I have not been on a date.
Okay. That's going to change today.
Yeah. So take us through the basics, because I think we got some seasoned folks, even in their 60s and 70s that are watching too. So take us
Okay.
through what we need to be doing. Tell us what the basics are.
Okay. So the first thing is your list. I want us to get rid of the list. The list is what puts us in interesting situations. For instance, you can have a list. Someone can mark everything on that list. You marry them and you are divorced, okay? So the
Mhm.
list is we're gonna let go of that. We want to
Okay.
focus on your non-negotiables. What is important to you when it comes to dating? Is a non-negotiable race for some people,
Mhm.
especially black women, black men. Your preference, your desire is to be with another black person.
Mhm.
Oftentimes, when it comes to dating, especially nowadays, if that is your preference, a lot of times you're chastised. People are telling you you need to open up, reach out, and they almost shame you for wanting to be with
Right.
someone of the same race. So for you, if that is a non-negotiable, own it, be unapologetic for it. If it is not a non-negotiable, fine, own it, be unapologetic for it. Another non-negotiable is religion. This time of this in this climate, um,
Mhm.
your political views is a non-negotiable. Education can be a non-negotiable. So you have to think about what your non-negotiables are. Also, let's talk about attraction. I don't care what anybody says. You need to be attracted to someone. What that looks like to you is what that looks like to you. That's why I say get rid of the list, because on your list, you could say, I want a man that's this tall, this complexion, looks like this. And then you meet someone, and for some reason, there is a spark, and this man is nothing at all like what you thought he would be. Same for men meeting women. She's not at all what you thought it would be. There's something about that person. So when
Mhm.
people tell you, you know, you don't always have to be, why do you want to be attracted to the person? Be open. I know people who have met people and they were not attracted to them at first. Absolutely. But there was something about that person, something about their energy and their spirit that drew you to them. So that's the next thing, being attracted to someone, your non negotiables. The next thing is making the time to date. Okay. Let me tell you something. And this is real. Okay. Because that couch and a glass of wine at home, that feels good. You have your glass of wine that doesn't have a 600% markup. It's, a
Right.
$20 bottle. You're watching your TV. It's comfortable. It's relaxing. The weekends, you just do your errands. and you get in this monotonous routine and you don't make time to date. You don't even really make time to go out and do things enjoyable because you're so focused on work. You got to schedule that time. You have to be dedicated to leaving one day a week to date. Meaning, if it's not even a date per se, it's
Mhm.
one day a week where maybe after work, instead of going straight home, you go to a restaurant, you sit at the bar, you have a drink. Maybe it's one day a week where you go a running club. Maybe it's a one day a week where you're doing something outside of the house. Okay, so that's the other
Okay.
thing. The next thing is put it out there that you want to meet someone, that you're ready to date. Don't assume that people know that. A lot of times, especially for what I call a super singles, that means people who have been single for, we'll say, 4+ years.
Mhm.
Okay, a lot of times people might assume, well, she doesn't really want to date. She's just doing her thing, and they don't think to set you up with people. Let
Mhm.
people know you want to meet someone. Also, in your mind, say, I'm ready to meet my person. I want to meet my person. And then last but not least is your dating narrative you're telling yourself. Are you going into the dating situation like most of these men out here, most of these
Mhm.
women out here play games, they're superficial, all that. If you're going into that and that is in your mind, that plays such a big part in how you date and how you energetically present yourself. So those are kind of the basics.
Ooh, I feel called out.
It's okay. Knowledge is power. Knowledge
Right,
is power.
right. We do have a question from Lynette
Okay.
McCallum. She says, "What about if you make the time and still nothing happens?" That's right,
Okay.
Lynette.
That is a great question because for a lot of people, you are making the time, you are going out, you're putting yourself out there and you're still not meeting people. You're even on the dating apps and you're not meeting people. But if you even try to try a matchmaking service, you're still not meeting people. Okay. Let's acknowledge, first of all, that it's frustrating. It can
Mhm.
sometimes feel debilitating and you also get exhausted, right? But you have to keep working through it. Now, as doctors, what's the definition of insanity? It's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So
Mhm.
that means that maybe it's time, if you, let's say you live in LA, maybe it's time for you to extend your radius out to San Diego. Maybe you live in New York or LA. Maybe it's time you extend your radius to a Chicago, a Charlotte. Maybe it's time for you to go, okay, homecoming season.
Mhm.
Homecoming, we are in full blown homecoming season. All the HBCUs this month, it's homecoming. Do you live in DC? What is stopping you from going and hanging out in the area? I hate to say it because I went to Hampton, but we'll just put it out there. If you want to go meet a bison, whatever, you can. But just putting yourself out there and switching it up and just still being open, but switching up what you're doing and expanding your radius definitely helps.
Okay, so what if you're not on the apps because some of us seasoned folks are afraid of the apps because of
Yeah,
all the horror stories?
right. Absolutely. And I love this question because, again, the dating apps are not the only way to meet people, okay? And for some people who have tried dating apps, you have really tried, and it's just not your thing. Let me
Mhm.
be the first person out there to say that is okay. You're not doing anything wrong. It's not because you have a bad profile. It's not because you have bad pictures up there. It's just not your thing. Own it and let's move forward from that. So if that's not the case, again, telling your friends you want to meet people, expanding your dating radius, going to different events like your homecomings, like your class reunions, going to events like a CBC, knowing what's going on in your area where you're out and about, or even just a regular day, like I said, going, sitting at the bar, having a drink, switching even your gym membership. Maybe you go to a different gym than the one you normally go to. Switching things up definitely helps. And also in terms of, even in addition to dating, it breaks up the monotonous of your everyday life.
Okay. I did see a TikTok earlier. It's a guy, he's always like, get out and dilly dally. And he was saying, talking about go, if you're going for coffee on Saturday mornings, go to the other side of town. And I was like, I never thought that. I'm too lazy to be like, oh, I'll just go right across the street
I
instead. But
know. It's so true. But you do have to treat, I don't want to say treat dating like it's a job, but treat it like it's a priority. And it is
Mhm.
so easy to get stuck. I don't like you saying lazy. You just get stuck in your routine. We're not going to
Yes,
judge ourselves.
yes.
You get stuck to your routine. So just try, even if it's one day, we'll
Mhm.
start off easy, one day a month.
Yeah. Yeah.
Switch up, go to that other grocery store, go to a different coffee shop, like switch it up one day a month. Start that way and see what happens.
Okay. Marlon Parker, welcome, Marlon. He says, it's good to meet a pretty woman at the grocery store. Now, Marlon, I be going to the grocery store. I even went to Trader Joe's at different
Ah,
times, and I saw nobody.
oh my gosh. Where okay, what area are you based in? Are you in which area?
I'm in Charlotte.
Oh, Charlotte. Girl, you're in Charlotte? Okay. So the grocery, I agree. There are some, you can potentially meet some people at the grocery store. You know, it's hard because it's sometimes awkward for people
Yeah.
just smiling. Like if you see someone and just smiling, and sometimes it feels so awkward. I'm not saying you go like, but like if you if you see someone smile in the grocery store, just some things to keep in mind when it comes to the grocery store. If you see a man with a large cart carrying a list with a bunch of stuff in the grocery store, more than likely he is married. Okay.
Mm,
Make sure you're checking for those rings. I know not everybody wears a ring. Check for the tan lines too. But
mhm,
if has a big cart, a grocery list, tampons in there, more than likely he is not single. Okay. If he has, a small basket with a protein powder, a few things here and there, okay, there you have it. And then smile and strike up conversation. Like just and it's uncomfortable. It can feel a little strange, but you'll see results.
okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I see someone, Tina Reckern, welcome from England. Welcome.
Oh, hey, Tina from England.
And Chris Stevens says getting out of the house overall is a good idea. I probably need to do this. See, I'm not, so it's not just the women in the house,
No,
it's the men
it is
too.
so normal. Like, especially, listen, I'm in my 40s too. Like, you just don't feel like being bothered. Your week is long. Like, I get it. And
Yeah.
it's so normal. It's just, you gotta force yourself to do it. And you will have to force yourself to do it. I promise you, you will. But just do it.
Okay. Let's see. So how do you know though, we were talking about baggage earlier. How do you know if you're ready to date if you just got out of a relationship or a situationship or whatever it is? Because sometimes people say you need to take time and heal before you jump back into something else. But how do you know when it's time to do that?
I love this question because statistically, and don't come for me in the comments, but statistically, most men are figuring out their next situation as they're getting out the other. Okay, you don't hear many men, I'm not saying all men, don't come for me, but you don't hear many men being like, I'm taking a 2-year break from dating so I can heal. They keep it moving, and it's not
Mhm.
necessarily healthy. And lots of times what happens is they're carrying their baggage into the next relationship, or they get with someone who has lower expectations or standards and will tolerate some things that someone else that they're with before won't. So I'm not saying this is all men, but you definitely, I don't believe in hopping from one relationship to the next, right? I do believe in taking some time to heal. However, my three favorite words, I'll use this a lot today, in
Mhm.
addition to healing from your last relationship, you can still go out on dates. In addition to healing from your last relationship, you can go out with friends that make you feel good and make you laugh and get through the heartache and the pain. But what a lot of times what does happen is when someone is has gone come out of a very toxic relationship or a relationship that has hurt them to their core, and they're doing that honest legitimate healing, there does come a point when your healing or your explanation for not going on a date is healing, where it becomes a defense mechanism and a wall that you have up for protection.
Mhm.
So if it's been several years and you're still saying I'm still healing, let's revisit that. Let's revisit how we get past and pivot to the other side of that. So, really, when it comes to healing and a breakup, you have the initial phase of the breakup, the This is for people who are not quick to move on, who
Mhm.
are like wanting to get through this the healthy way. You have the pure devastation and the shock and the upset and that soul crushing heartbreak that you have to get through. Then you have the period of time where you are second guessing everything, every single decision that you make, every single person that you meet, or things like that. You're You're not trusting yourself. You're not trusting your journey because of the hurt. Then you go through a period of time where you're ready to date. And if somebody does something super small, they can breathe the wrong way, they could pick up their fork the wrong way. And you're like, you know what? I'm good on this. I'm good. Where you're looking for red flags as a defense mechanism, that's the next phase. Then you have the phase where you are just kind of chill. Like you're like, I'm out of place. I'm happy. I'm single. I don't really need to date anyone. I am enjoying my company and rediscovering me. I'm going through the healing. I have rediscovered this new version of myself. And you're enjoying it so much that you are not letting anyone in. And that's when that defense mechanism of healing comes through. So we have to learn how to pivot into the next phase of your dating life.
Okay, to piggyback on that,
Mm-hmm.
so if you're still in the thick of, maybe not the thick, but you've reached that last stage, or
Yeah.
so you think, and then you realize I'm lonely,
Yeah.
and then say this, you are in the grocery store or wherever, and you meet somebody, and they turn out to be worse than the one you left.
I know.
so, so is it because you've dropped those defenses? You're just in that space of I'm lonely. I just want to just date. What is it?
Oh, that is such a great question. A lot of it is you're collecting data.
Yeah.
So oftentimes you might meet somebody who is a clown in that circus, and it just is what it is. What you have to make sure of is that you don't go into that self blame. Instead of being like, oh God, I tried it and I met another fool, I'm not doing it again. Clearly it's something with me. No, if you see something that doesn't make sense, that's not sitting well with your spirit, you keep it moving. You keep it moving. But don't think that just because after a bad relationship you meet someone else and they end up being a clown too, that they're all clowns. You just have to keep going. And I always say being single, it's brave because you literally are putting yourself out there for the possibility and the potential to be hurt and disappointed. It's the inevitable. But when you finally meet that person where it makes sense, it's all worth it. But you just have to keep going.
Okay. I'm curious in the chat. When was the last time y'all went on a date? Because now we're gonna switch gears and I want to know what is an actual date. What does it look like? Because online it's like no house dates, no this, no that for a first date. Let's talk first dates. What does a first date truly look like?
Oh, I love that. Well, first of all, you have to decide what it is that you are personally looking for in your own dating journey. If
Mhm.
you're at a place where you want to kick it, you want to just enjoy yourself, if you get what I'm saying, that is fine. That is fine. But first of all, be honest with yourself and be honest with the person who is a potential date. If that
Mhm.
person's okay with the get down, get down, get down, then wherever you decide to do a first date, it could be at the house, it could be wherever. If that works for you too, and that's what you want, and that's what you're looking for, you're honest with yourselves, but you're having that conversation, do you boo? So let's take that off the table.
Okay.
Okay. Just make sure you both want it, because if you don't, if one of you is not being honest, or if you're not being honest after a person has told you, has said to you, remember, we're collecting data. You're listening to what they're saying. You're not interpreting it. You're not going to hear when someone says, I'm not really looking for a relationship. I just want to have a good time. You're not thinking to yourself, oh, well, maybe, if we're together for a few months, it will change into something else. Oh, I've met his family. I've met his cousins, his sister, his brother, and clearly we must be in a relationship. This is how a situationship starts, and this is how you find yourself 5 years down the road, you with this man, and he told you from the beginning what it was. Okay, so we've covered that. If you
Okay.
are looking for a long-term committed relationship, a real solid one, we're gonna want someone who plans a date. Now, I am old school. Kill me if you want in the comments about this. So I'm coming from a perspective of a woman who's in her mid 40s, who is old school. So if a man asks you out, shows interest, he is going to plan a date. Now, what that date looks like, this is where some women mess up. A date doesn't always have to be a fancy dinner.
Mhm.
A date can be, let's go for a hike. A date can be, let's do a picnic. A date can be, let's meet for drinks. A date can even be working out together and going out to lunch afterwards. So be open to the various types of dates that man plans,
Mhm.
and use that as an opportunity to get to know each other and enjoy those dates. Let him plan it. he is going to court you. He's going to reach out to you. You guys are going to text. Texting is not the only form of communication. Texting is to be used for, hey, good morning. How are you doing? Was thinking about you. Texting can be used as a, here's where I'm thinking of us going on a date. What do you like? Where do you like to eat? Gathering information, but that does not replace a good old school phone
Yes.
call. Okay. So we're going to do that. If you happen to be on dating apps and you're planning a date, FaceTime saves time. Do a FaceTime call ahead of time if you're worried about if the person looks like how they're presenting themselves to be. Okay, so you've planned out the date. You're going to go on dates. You're going to ask questions, but you're going to enjoy the date. You're going to ask questions, not like it's a job interview, but organically as they evolve. Do not treat those dates as a job interview. Do not treat those dates as a therapy session. Be organic with it.
Mhm.
And you're going to, after a date as a woman, if you had a good time, there's nothing wrong with texting that man that night or the next day and say, I really had a good time. I enjoyed your company, looking forward to doing it again. There's nothing wrong with doing that and showing interest. For a man, there's nothing wrong with doing the same thing. Don't wait 3 days or think, you'd be impressed if you reach out. So you're going to organically gather information and decide, does this person flow with where I am in my life? And do I want to continue seeing them? Now, one thing to remember, consistency. That's one of the main things that frustrate people with dating. Don't put out a vibe that you don't plan on maintaining throughout. Okay. If you are texting me every day, if we're having calls regularly, and then suddenly you do a switch up on me,
Mhm.
that's a problem. So maintain the vibe you're putting out there, even if it means you pace it out a little bit slower and work your way up to it. So again, consistency, showing interest, planning a date, and courting a woman. It's not that difficult. We like to be courted. Men like to feel appreciated. It ain't that difficult.
Yeah, so this brings up, I think it was a couple weeks ago where social media was in an uproar over coffee dates.
Okay.
Did you see that? Like
I did not see that.
they were upset. They were like, "Do not take me for a coffee date for a first date." And I mean, it was like everybody arguing over coffee or on a first date. And then you bring in those other, what are they, the $200 dates that they're always arguing about. Like it's insane, but you just simplified it. Like you can't. I'm thinking of like one of the best dates I ever had. We went skating, and it was
Thank
fun.
you. Yes. Thank you. Like simple stuff. Like going on a hike, taking a walk on the beach if you live in a beach area, like rock climbing, like fun stuff like that, switching it up and being open to it. Like, don't be so set in your mind about how things are supposed to look. Okay, coffee dates, if you don't like them, you can say, is there something else you want to do or something like that? But at the same time, it has to be hard for someone if you're dating and you're expected to take someone, all these different people out, some who you don't even know if you like, and spend all this
Mhm.
money, and you might not even like the person. So it doesn't have to be necessarily coffee, but learn how to be creative in your suggestions with the date.
Absolutely. So I was on a TikTok live last night, and a couple of these questions came up, and I promised to
Okay.
ask them since they're not in the chat. One wanted
Okay.
to know, one kind of explained that she went on a date, met the guy on a dating app, and then they had talked for a couple weeks before they met up. And then he says, "Hey, when they meet, sit down for dinner," and he says, "I have to tell you something."
Oh
And
Lord.
it was,
Here we go.
he had a record, and it was, and she felt like he took that choice away from her because he hid it for the 2 weeks. So I guess because you don't want it to be a therapy session, but for some stuff, when should you disclose it? And
Yeah.
the other question that one of the women asked was, when can you just say, no, I don't want this? Like, I know we just met, we're sitting here, but no, thank you.
In that situation, I would have had no problem with her saying, I wish you would have been transparent from the beginning. I'm
Mhm.
uncomfortable. And it's okay to walk out. Do it respectfully. You don't have to splash a drink in the person's face and cuss them out, but just say, because that is, from what you just described, that is a certain form of a deception. You
Mhm.
know, you know things that people need to know up front. And you might not end up going on a date with them because for them, that might be a deal breaker and they
Right.
get to have that as a deal breaker. But there are other people where that's not a big deal. They might say, well, you paid your debt. I appreciate the honesty, but be honest about it from the beginning. If you are going through a divorce and still living in the same home as your wife, and you are going through a divorce, maybe you're sleeping in separate rooms, but you are still legally married and living in that same home, yet you guys are both consciously uncoupling,
Mhm.
that needs to be a conversation that you have upfront with someone and let them make that decision. A lot of times people think, well, I'll go out on a date with them, show them a good time, and then I'll tell them eventually. That is a form of deception. For most people, deception and dishonesty is a non negotiable deal breaker. So you
Mhm.
have to be honest about it. And yes, you may win some, you may lose some, but you're honest about it. You give that person a choice.
Okay. All right. I want to tell everybody in the chat, we've got like about 15 more minutes. So if you have any questions, please drop it in the chat. And the other question that someone asked from last night, they were wanting to know, can growing up and the environment you grew up in, does that affect how you date?
It definitely affects how you date if you allow it. Okay. There are people who have grown up in dysfunctional households. Maybe they've witnessed abuse. Maybe they've had a household where it was toxic and their parents were arguing all the time, and that's all they knew. You have to make a choice to do something different. You can't lean on, well, that's how I grew up and I don't know any better. You got to learn how to see something that you want to change it and be honest about it. Just like there are people who have lived in two-parent households that were in loving, happy marriages and relationships, and then they go out and they start dating and they're a hot mess. That is a choice and a decision to make. So you have to look at how you want to be at this stage in your life when it comes to dating. Now, that's what I always talk about. It's very different as we're seasoned in your 20s, your 30s, you might have grown up like that and you might not even necessarily know that it was toxic and messed up until you get older. The moment you realize that there is a problem with that, or like I love to say, when you're dating, there is one common denominator in all of the people you date, and that is
Mm.
you. So there has to come a certain point where you look at yourself in the mirror and you say, okay, I can't change the other people around me, but I can look inside and see what are my deficits. I know it's so shocking, but we're not perfect.
Yeah.
And we have to know what our deficits are so that we can change it. It's not about blaming yourself or judging yourself. It's about having an honest moment where you make that decision to do things differently.
Because I think you can also have like a pattern in dating, which brings me to the next question with when you have a type, like a specific type that you've dated for years, like say starting in your 20s and you're seasoned now and you're still dating that type, and then you're just frustrated because it's like, why isn't this working? So at some point, do our types hurt us? When do we just need to, does that go out with the list?
That goes, okay. So we have to have attraction. We talk about that, but we
Yes.
also have to be open to the possibility of pivoting and seeing what someone's energy is bringing you and
Yes.
giving someone a chance who you're feeling a vibe with. You're not sure if you're attracted to them, but giving them a chance to prove that maybe this could be something different. And I don't say it's necessarily the physical type that is the issue, it's that mental, emotional, spiritual type or spiritual energy that you can continue being attracted to. For instance, you might not realize that you might be dating your father,
Mm-hmm.
someone who you have not had a close relationship with, someone who is emotionally unavailable, was emotionally unavailable to your mom. And that's all you knew. So you're comfortable dating that type because that's all you've known. But again, that goes to what I was just talking about when you have to have that moment of clarity of like, wait a minute, something's off with this. It's not feeling right. But it doesn't mean that you no longer date someone that you're not attracted to. It means that you get more self reflective. And when you first go on that date and there's certain things that you hear that sounds familiar that you don't like, you don't reason it or make what is it? What's the word? I'm having a
Excuses.
brain fart. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Excuses for it. You don't take on projects or homework. You take on someone who is matching what you are looking for, where you are in your life, and you listen to everything they say. Are their actions and their words aligned? Are their actions and words aligned with what you want? And it's something, I call it your inner loving diva for ladies. There's something when you're out with someone and it just doesn't, you feel it here. Just, you're like, something just, I can't put my finger on it. Something is feeling off. Okay,
Mhm.
you file that in your mental Rolodex. You don't ignore that and you lean into that and trust and believe you will figure out what that is and decide if you want to move forward. So, again, I'm not telling you to date someone who you're not attracted to, but lean more into the feeling that you get when you're with that person.
Mhm. That's good because I've noticed for me, and I don't know if anybody else has had this, when you realize when they call and your anxiety kicks in, or
Yes,
your attachment style, which is actually the next question, your attachment style flares like is like all lights flashing, like it's
yes,
pushing you over the
yes.
edge.
That is, it's so true. And, it's so interesting because you can tell when something is off. But I
Yeah,
also talk about a successful relationship. When you start dating someone, what makes it successful, right?
yeah,
When you start dating someone and it finally feels effortless and the sense of you're with that person, you don't worry if this person is going to call you or text you or plan the next date
yeah.
because they're doing that. You know that anxiety that you feel when you're like stressed out about a situation, you're calling your girls like, is he going to do XYZ? What's the deal with this? It's because deep down in your heart, you know that this person is not coming to the table in the way that you want them to, in the way
Mhm.
you deserve, but you're hoping it might change. And it might, but be aware of the fact that that feeling of anxiety, that inconsistency, that is happening for a reason. When you finally meet that person that is coming correct, there is nothing better than that. And you are reciprocating that coming correct with that person as well.
Mhm.
Reciprocity is something that it's something we should definitely be more aware of and lean
Mhm.
into more often.
Absolutely. And also in the live that I was on last night, someone brought up a great point, which I didn't think about, and then I realized, oh, that's where I messed up. But they said, never like tell what happened in your previous relationships to the new person because sometimes they will take that information, file it away, like, oh, okay, they will let this and this and this slide by, so I can do it and get away with it. What do you think about that?
Ooh, Shameika. Okay, let's talk
I
about
had to
this.
cross my leg on that one and lean
Yes,
in.
let's Shameika, listen. It's okay. If this happens, especially when your last relationship was jacked up and it was just one of those core heartbreaking relationships, even when
Mhm.
you're healed, you find sometimes they can creep back in a
Yes.
date. So, okay. So here's the deal. When you are on a first date or a first few dates, as you're getting to know someone,
Mhm.
before you guys are like really like in a flow of dating each other. But in the beginning stages, if someone asks you about your last relationship, you keep it classy. You keep it like, for instance, let's say the ex cheated on you or something like that. You keep it very basic, like the person, he or she wasn't who I thought they were, so I moved on. Or, it just didn't work out. We weren't aligned. Our views weren't
Mhm.
aligned. Like,
Okay.
you have your sound bites for that question, and if they're like, well, what exactly happened? And be like, we'll save that for another time. And hopefully that person will understand you do not, you're not in a position yet where I am comfortable sharing the details. Okay. So
Mhm.
you just have your PC, not even PC, you just have your elevator line, one liner, two liner for that relationship. Now you're on, sixth, seventh date. You guys are dating. You guys are dating, exploring the possibility of a long term relationship. Then it comes up, you can go into more details, especially if you were married before or things like that.
Mhm.
But you don't have to go into the nitty gritty because, again, if you're out with someone and they start bad mouthing their ex,
Yeah.
that's a reflection of them. Even if their ex was next level cuckoo for cocoa puffs, next level a man whore, all of that. Like, still be very aware of someone who badmouths their ex because every quote unquote she's crazy. Some
Mhm.
women who are quote unquote crazy were made crazy by a man who drove her to craziness based on their dishonesty and their actions. You know,
Yes.
guys who might act like they are cheap or don't want to spend money on a date might have had some woman that really took advantage of their kindness and now they're guarded about it. So,
Mhm.
you know, you're both coming in with that baggage, still being aware of that. But again, you don't need to share all the intimate details of your previous relationship on the first few dates. You save that for once you guys are in a space where you guys, that person has earned the right to know that information. And then when you decide to share that information, share it in a way where it's not bad mouthing, it's just information sharing.
Ah, okay. Okay, I like
Mm-hmm,
that.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Let's see. Lynette McCallum wants to know what are some tips on shooting your shot? Say she's going to get out the house, and what does she need to do?
Oh yes, okay. This is good because I like to give people tangible, tangible dating advice that they can take with them. Okay. So here's a few things you can do. Let's say you're out and about, maybe you're on vacation, you see a guy who's handsome, you notice there's no wedding ring, there's no tan lines, you realize he's single, right? And you want to shoot your shot. One thing that I have had clients tell me they have done and it works, and I recommended that, ask that person to take a picture of you. Be like, oh, excuse me, sir, or ma'am, could you mind taking a picture for me? Because then it strikes up a conversation. They take the picture, and then you can see where it goes from there. That's one thing that definitely works. Shooting your shot. I already talked about it might seem uncomfortable. A simple thing like smiling, not having your arms folded, and like smiling, looking someone in the eye and smiling goes a
Mhm.
long way. If you happen to be at a bar and you're sitting next to someone, a guy, strike up a conversation. Like you would do that with a female stranger. If you're a male, you might strike up a conversation with another guy about sports or whatever. Why not do that with the opposite sex and see where that goes? Okay.
Mhm.
I already talked about letting your friends know you're interested in someone. I already talked about the places where you can go out and
Yeah.
meet people. I talked about, again, being open and being open and saying to yourself, I'm ready to date. When you go out to dinner by yourself, I always tell people, take yourself out to dinner, sit at the bar. The person who is going to have all of the tea for you, that can find out all the information you need, if you see someone that is handsome or beautiful or attractive, that
Mm.
bartenders, they love playing matchmakers, and wait staff too. They love if you say to them, do you know who that person? He's kind of cute. She's kind of fine. What's the tea? They will get that tea for you. They'll even set it up. So be willing to do that. So little things like that go a long way.
Okay. Now, what if she sees someone, or he or she sees someone online? Because I have noticed. I mean, I'll have people in the DMs just talking to themselves,
Yeah.
so they approach wrong. So how do you shoot your shot in somebody's DMs?
Oh yes, because social media is almost kind of replacing the dating apps.
Yes.
First of all, let me tell you something, especially for the men out there. I'm going to lead with this and I'll go back. Do not wait until a woman that you have been checking for, thinking about shooting your shot. Do not wait till they finally go public with their relationship, and then you go into their DMs and you talking about, oh, I always liked you, too bad you're in a relationship. Don't do that. You're playing yourself. You're getting talked about, and it's too late at that point. Okay, so let's just say that, because
Yes.
that happens so often. I don't know why men do that. It frustrates us. Okay, so now that I've gotten that off of my chest,
Hmm.
DMs. Okay, so first of all, you want to pay attention to that person who is liking your picture suddenly, or who's making little comments. That's comparable to if you're sitting at the bar, someone winks at you. That or
Okay.
gives you a smile. So like you start noticing, oh, this person is liking my pictures. They're kind of cute. Let me go to see what their deal is. And you're like, okay. Then they graduate to viewing your stories and commenting on your stories. Now, again, this is after we've already established that this person is available, because a lot
Right.
of married men and married folks like to look at stories and comment. Okay.
Hmm.
So now them going into your stories and commenting, that's comparable to them coming over and striking up a conversation with you. Comment back, flirt back. Then them finally shooting you a DM, that is comparable to them buying you a drink at the bar. Okay. So they have bought you a drink at the bar. You're having a nice conversation. Now is the point when you guys have gone back and forth in DMs, flirted, talked. This is the time that you say, hey, what's your cell? Would love to take this offline, and then initiate a date. Do not wait too long to DM them. Do not wait too long to exchange cell phone information. Do not wait too long to ask someone out on a date. We are not looking for pen pals. Like, I have enough friends. I don't need a bunch of people to pen pal with. I want to go out on a date. So keep the ball moving, be consistent, and keep pushing it to the finish line and go on the date.
Oh, yes. And for our elders that are
Yes,
watching, DMs, direct messages, or the inbox on,
yes.
yeah. So just so you guys know what that is, and yes, Charmaine, don't wait. That's We do not want
Look,
to be
people are even
waiting.
going on LinkedIn. People are even trying to shoot
Yeah.
their shot on LinkedIn, girl. So, like, and make sure you are checking your DMs regularly. Check them maybe once a week because you never know who's in that general box and the hidden request. So, make sure you're checking them regularly.
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh, this conversation's so good. Then I haven't even gotten to. I didn't get past number 5 on my question list because I just
Ah!
like the conversation was so good. So you got to come back.
Oh, I would love to come back, Shamika. This is like having a cocktail with a friend. This is fun.
Yes, I want you to tell everybody about your coaching services, how they can reach out to you, what services you offer. Tell us all about it.
Yes, for years I was doing coaching, but just from referrals privately. And I recently decided to launch out and make it public because there's so much misguided information on dating and relationships. So, Cocktails and Confessions Coaching, that is my personal one on one coaching. I have different packages. We do Zoom coaches, we even have text message help with writing text messages. If you want to do a dating profile, we help you with your dating profile. I help you with getting through the first date, dating anxiety, getting through breakups in the various stages. So, Cocktails and Confessions Coaching. If you go to my IG at Cocktails and Confessions, DM me. I'll send you a survey for you to fill out. And then from there, we'll do a consultation. And then hopefully we'll work together as clients.
I love it. I love it. Give them the IG again one more time.
Sure, my IG is at Cocktails and A&D Confessions.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Oh my gosh, this was so good. Everybody in the chat's like, "Yes."
Yay!
Thank you so much, Monique, for coming
Thank
and chatting about dating. And, I know I feel a little bit more going outside now and being
Get off that
open.
couch. Get off that couch, Shameika. Get off that couch.
My recliner just has a hold on me. It just hugs me so tight.
I understand. No judgment, friend. No
And
judgment.
it's about to be cold outside, at least
I
in North
know.
Carolina.
I know it's gonna be hard, but you're gonna do it. We'll set at least once a month. You can do one time a month. You can dedicate one time a month.
Yes, 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 yes. And I'm going to, and I usually get the groceries ordered and delivered. So I'm going to try more
Oh,
often to go to the store.
girl.
Make
Okay, so
time.
you're aware. I
Make
can't
time.
wait for the catch-up and the recap.
Yes, yes. Well, for more information, everybody, about what we talked about, dating, relationships, even the attachment styles, all those things, you can head over to blackdoctor.org. There's articles over there. But coming up on Celebration, have you ever dealt with a micromanager breathing down your neck every couple seconds? Well, on Wednesday, we're going to be talking about how it actually can impact your mental health. And so I want to make sure that you all are protecting your peace at work. So we're going to get some tips and tricks and all those things. So join me on Wednesday at 7 o'clock right here on blackdoctor.org. I hope you all have a soul-filled rest of the week. Monique, thank you again. This was
Thank
wonderful.
you.
This was wonderful. Don't hang up yet, though.
Okay.
Y'all have a great night.